Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 16th October 2020. The first article for discussion is the message in the Peace Nobel is multilateralism. You know, World Food Program has got the Nobel Prize for Peace this year. In this context, author tries to emphasize the need for multilateralism in the midst of growing global challenges. On one side, global challenges like climate change, pandemics are increasing. On the other side, countries are working in silos, in narrow perspectives. If you see COVID vaccine itself, the countries are independently acting from each other, and they are developing multitude vaccines. Why can't they collaborate and develop one single effective vaccine which is essentially distributed for all the citizens? And vaccine nationalism and various remarks surrounding that we saw in Trump. In this case, the pandemic has to make us realize that the challenges are expected to grow in the future, and we have to collaboratively work towards these challenges. In this context, globalization is here to stay. The reason is this: technology is the major mover of globalization. Till we depend on technology and technology takes much of our lives, globalization will stay here. In this context, we have to face the globalization, either positives or negatives. And second, multilateralism is essential to face the global challenges. UN is central to this multilateral framework, but UN system is weakening today. The major blame has to be kept on powerful nations like P5. The major reason is they are hindering any kind of reforms to this multilateral framework and also starving them of necessary finances. Next most important point is response of the many countries to global challenges which we are facing like climate change is very shallow. Whenever a diplomat is engaged for discussion on these global challenges, every country briefs him, give less and take more. It means that they have to commit as much less as possible. That kind of negotiation is good in commerce, but with regard to global challenges, we all shall be equally concerned. If everyone wants to give minimal, what the outcome will be? Common minimum denominator. So drastic changes for collective actions are not expected to come out. That we need to keep in mind. And many of the challenges are also interconnected. Let us take climate change, food security challenge, energy security challenge. All these are interconnected with each other. In this context, having a strong feedback loop is essential. This is the essence of this particular article. This year we are expecting a question on multilateralism and food security. The major reason is United Nations have completed 75 years, and second thing is World Food Program has got the Nobel Prize. Food and Agricultural Organization has also got a certain remarkable milestones which I don't remember as of now, but we need to remember that food security, we did not see a question in UPSC GS paper to till now. This year, as an reward to World Food Program, we can expect a question on food security. The next article is the road to zero hunger by 2030. This target of zero hunger by 2030 is sustainable development goal number 2. In this context, India is able to fight COVID-19 pandemic and associated food insecurity of the poor and marginalized. You know that any pandemic or a crisis situation is going to worsen malnutrition and poverty. We are expected to have 13 crore plus malnourished and poor people in this country after the pandemic. In this context, what author suggests is the food systems have got disrupted due to COVID-19. What is a food system? It is a framework that includes every aspect of feeding and nourishing people. It means from sowing the seeds, production, distribution, and then storage, everything, processing, everything comes under the food system. So this food system is getting threatened now. That's why the way forward for us is to build strong, resilient food systems. How to build these strong, resilient food systems? One, climate change resistant seeds. Next is providing for sustainable agricultural practices, stopping the food wastage, drought and flood resistant seeds, and small scale irrigation, promotion of millets and diversification of nutrition basket. All these things can be taken up to make our food security sustainable. Keep that in mind. The next article is Showdown in Thailand. You know that people are protesting in Thailand for long. What is the reason for this protest? In a military coup, the existing Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has come into power, and then he conducted elections which are unfair. After that, he has changed the constitution in 2017, which has taken away the democratic rights of the citizens. Now he has issued an emergency decree banning the public gatherings. In this context, people have come open into streets. They are even questioning the monarchy. And monarchy is also appears to have lost morality in Bangkok now, because the present king who took the throne 2 years back, he spends most of the time in Europe and in extravaganza. In this context, loss of legitimacy both for prime minister and also to monarchy is the major reason for protest. What the people want now, they want the prime minister to be resigned and powers of monarchy to be clipped. If I want to say a point, in Bangkok, that is in Thailand, king is seen as a god. So when the people are protesting the king itself, it means something serious is happening over there. So remember, whenever democracy is not being upheld in spirit, this is the consequence which we see. The loss of legitimacy to the government will create more havoc, and it disrupts every functioning of the society. That is the take home point. Next is dealing with the deluge. You know that there was heavy rain in Hyderabad. Normally in October, we see a rainfall average of 103.6 mm, but on one day we have received 192 millimeters of rain, which is huge by any standard. Many of the colonies, they were under disruption of electricity and other basic necessities like drinking water. See here, few years back we saw the deluge in Chennai, and more or less this urban deluge is becoming a common phenomenon. Probably it is due to climate change. And how our cities are prepared for this, how our urban planners have prepared for this is the major question over here. Most of the times, the lakes, the bunds are not being properly checked. The breaching of these bunds is the reason for deluge of colonies. And second is sewage canals. Sewage system is very old in Hyderabad. During the Nawab times it was created, and many of the recently developed regions also do not have proper sewage systems. And the third most important thing over here is Hyderabad today, even today, do not have proper disaster mitigation plan in place. Any disaster mitigation plan shall have a long-term view. Anyhow, we have to praise the GHMC and police force for a swift action, but without proper disaster preparedness and mitigation plan, this becomes an ad hoc approach. So urban deluge is becoming common, and urban planners has to look for disaster preparedness mitigation with a long-term view in mind. That is the take-home point. The next article is, should the government regulate TRPs? Remember carefully, TRP stands for target rating points. How it is calculated? In certain viewers' houses, they create certain meters. Based on what channel they are watching, they bring in these TRP ratings. Based on these TRP ratings, advertisers will pay to the news channels. That's why every news channel tries to manipulate this TRP. And then Broadcasters Audience Research Council BARC establishes these meters and monitors this activity. Remember, BARC alone does that. There is no competition. In that case, if we can create competition and multiple agencies does this, definitely there will be an improvement. Second, the sample size is very low. The sample size is around 20,000 for this large country. And the total amount of budget of expenditure budget is around 27,000 crores. In this context, the first step is to expand the sample size and to make this system more scientific. And coming to regulation, government regulation is unwarranted, and self-regulation or independent regulation, that is what has to be done. These are the points we need to keep in mind. Along with that, there is an important statement. Manipulating the TRPs is not just manipulating or cheating the advertisers, it is also cheating the people. People watch the channels for fair news, fair information. But today, to increase the TRP ratings, there is a lot of misinformation and hatred spread through these channels. In this context, manipulating TRPs is also ethically and morally wrong. That is what author says here. Next is GST, Center to Borrow for States. You know that there was a lot of discussion and bad blood between the center and the states when center has asked the states to borrow from RBI at a fair conditions or fair interest rates. But today center has come down, it has agreed to borrow on its name from RBI, and then it will give these loans to the states on a back-to-back basis to the tune of 1.1 lakh crore rupees. It is a positive step in our federal relations. That's how we can put it as. Then what about the remaining money? Total 2.3 lakh crores is the deficit in GST collection, and government says 1.1 lakh crore in this is due to the impact of GST collection, and the remaining is due to impact of COVID-19. And as COVID-19 is called as an act of God, the center is not ready to take the responsibility for that money. So this is a positive step. Center taking the responsibility for this 1.1 lakh crore is a positive step. Next is Jammu and Kashmir parties team up for restoring special status. They formed a grouping that is called People Alliance, and they want to take forward the Gupkar Declaration. What is this Gupkar Declaration? They want to bring in status quo ante to August 4th, 2019. You know that on August 4th, 2019, Article 370 is removed from the Constitution, and Jammu and Kashmir is divided into two union territories. One is Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh region. So that is what is to be reversed. That is the demand of this People's Alliance in Kashmir. So these are the articles for today. This is Dr. Rambabu signing off for Law Excellence IAS.